I guess I'm live. Hi there. Just got a lot of politics on my mind as usual, and I am going to talk some more politics. But this time, I am going to talk about a presidential candidate that was my second choice in the Democratic primaries. Everybody, you all know how I feel about Bernie Sanders. I still want Bernie Sanders to run in 2024, as far as I'm concerned. He was rigged in 2016. He was rigged in 2020. And I am a Bernie Sanders loyalist through and through. And you know, um, all you corporate Democrats, who are as bad as the Republicans in many ways, y'all can remain haters if you want. In fact, many of y'all can kiss my ass. But let me talk about my second favorite candidate, and that is Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii. A very, very misunderstood politician, might I say. Probably one of the most misunderstood politicians in America today. Well, Tulsi Gabbard is a U.S. Congresswoman from the Second Congressional District of Hawaii. She currently serves as a major in the U.S. Army in the Hawaiian National Guard, serving in the medical unit. She served several tours of duty in Iraq. Um, while I confess I'm not necessarily the most patriotic person in the world, she has expressed patriotism beyond recognition, and I really respect her, and I like her a lot. Um, in 2020, of course, she ran for president in the Democratic primaries. Well, she got her major start politically in 2012. I think she did serve in, I guess, Honolulu. I guess it was in the city council. I'm not sure. I know she was a city council in her younger years. But in 2012, she got elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from Hawaii, and she became kind of known as a rising star in the Democratic Party. She moved up the ranks of the party to being co-chair of the DNC. And so she had a very bright future ahead of her right there at that point. She was kind of seen as somebody that could be running later on after a theoretical Hillary Clinton presidency that they were all anticipating for many years. The Democratic establishment looked favorably at one time at Tulsi Gabbard as a rising star and somebody that could really be, you know, they really liked her. They did. Um, when Bernie Sanders ran in 2016 for president, and when it got really hostile between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders in the primaries, um, as most people know, the Hillary Clinton campaign, the media, and the DNC all collaborated and rigged the primaries to kind of to ruin the Bernie Sanders campaign. And Tulsi Gabbard called it out, and she resigned for the DNC, and then she publicly endorsed Bernie Sanders, and she became a delegate and a campaign surrogate for Bernie Sanders. And even at the convention 2016, she nominated Bernie Sanders 4 years ago, just as AOC, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, nominated Bernie Sanders this past week. So she uh, she had she became kind of controversial right there. She bucked the establishment, and by becoming a campaign surrogate and working for Bernie Sanders. As the years went on by during the Trump presidency, she became kind of well known for her anti-war stances, and in 2019 she declared her candidacy for president in the Democratic primaries. Um, I've always had a theory, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. My theory is that Tulsi Gabbard was kind of I think she was basically, I think that she and Bernie Sanders initially, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, that they had an agreement and that she was actually she was actually kind of an attack dog, so to speak, while Bernie Sanders campaigned maintained his composure. Well, she just she, she quickly destroyed Tim Ryan's presidential campaign. She quickly destroyed Kamala Harris's presidential campaign, or so we thought at the time. And she almost, well, I mean, even though he dropped out later, she had her eyes on Pete Buttigieg to get him out of the way. So the media did everything they could to try to squelch her because she was bucking the establishment in some ways even more than Bernie Sanders. And she became a pariah by a lot of people in the establishment. They associated her with as being a Russian asset, ties to Vladimir Putin. Yeah, they said that about Donald Trump. They said that about Bernie Sanders. They said that about Jill Stein. Now they're saying that about Tulsi Gabbard. They have called her an Assad apologist. Um, and she's not a Assad apologist. She's not a Russian asset, and she's not an Assad apologist. But she knows that what happens when so-called moderate rebels in Syria are being supported by the U.S. to get rid of Bashir al-Assad. Bashir al-Assad is a bad man. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. Bashir al-Assad is a bad man. But you know what? The alternative is worse. The alternative is just awful. And what happens? You're gonna have ISIS. You're gonna have Al Qaeda. You're gonna have the radical Islamists taking over Assad's regime. Assad is secular. Assad's government is secular. And Christians are not persecuted in Syria, but you get the radicals taking over. Christians will. So all the Christian evangelicals here in the United States that cry persecution because gay people can get married, you don't know what persecution is until you have your head cut off by members of ISIS. That's persecution. Gay people getting married ain't persecution of Christians in the United States. But anyway, I digress. Speaking of, she's been called a homophobe. Now, here's the thing. She was raised in a very socially conservative Hindu household growing up, and her father was extremely anti-gay, and that's what she grew up with. But she was very young when she expressed some negative attitudes about gay people. I'm 51 years old. I grew up in the 1980s when homophobia was really really problematic, and I myself have made homophobic comments in the past. And if anybody knows me, knows that I am a strong supporter, and I mean sincerely strong supporter of LGBTQ equality. And so, but I think it's kind of unfair when Tulsi Gabbard is called a homophobe. She has a 100% rating by the Human Rights Campaign, and listen, she she's as a presidential candidate supported same-sex marriage, whereas Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and John Kerry and other Democrats that ran previous um, were not in favor of same-sex marriage. So there you have it. And they call her a homophobe. I mean, excuse me, they're calling her an Islamophobe because, well, I'm not exactly sure. Well, other than maybe politically correct types in the liberal community getting all in a tizzy about even criticizing any Muslim under any circumstances whatsoever whenever a Middle East inspired terrorist attacks takes place. And so, yeah, I mean, just as there are violent Christians, doesn't mean that will blow up an abortion clinic or commit some other acts of terrorism like Timothy McVeigh was Christian identity. Doesn't mean that all Christians going to blow up federal buildings and blow up abortion clinics and try to jumpstart the Turner Diaries. Um, Just because the Israeli government do shitty things to the Palestinians doesn't mean that this is representative of Judaism the world over. And just because some son of a bitches blew up the World Trade Center and the Pentagon on 9/11 does not mean that the entire Muslim world is out to destroy Western civilization. But yeah, there are Islamic radicals, and those radicals that will commit acts of terrorism against the West, fuck them. Same thing with Christian terrorists. When Christian terrorists commits acts of terrorism to expand their right wing agenda, fuck them. And the same thing with the Israeli situation. When the Israel when the Israelis go and repress and persecute Palestinians, fuck them. And by the same token, when Hamas and Hezbollah goes and attack Israel, again, fuck Hamas and fuck Hezbollah too. Anybody who commits an act of terrorism against another person because of what they are, and they're doing it in the name of their political or religious ideology, no matter what angle you come from, fuck them. Okay, so yeah, they're really out to lunch calling Tulsi Gabbard an Islamophobe. Some even have resorted to calling her a white nationalist because Richard Spencer said some nice things about her. She repudiated. She did not want Richard Spencer support. And if you're going to go by that logic about Richard Spencer saying some nice things about Tulsi Gabbard, Richard Spencer said nice things about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, the Somalian Muslim member of Congress, and Tulsi Gabbard defended Ilhan Omar from the allegations of anti-Semitism when Ilhan Omar made some mild criticisms against AIPAC and made comments which were blown out of proportion. Um, Richard Spencer, who lives in Montana, said he was going to vote for Bernie Sanders in the primary just because even he Bernie Sanders programs would benefit white people as well as benefiting everybody else. Does not mean that Bernie Sanders, who is Jewish, is going to sit there and embrace Richard Spencer, Ilhan Omar, Bernie Sanders, and Tulsi Gabbard would not have anything to do one way or the other with Richard Spencer, and they made that very clear. And Tulsi Gabbard is Polynesian. She was born in American Samoa, and she's Polynesian. She's not even white. So, it's just the thing that the smears against Tulsi Gabbard is just so wrong. And some of the main people who attacked Tulsi Gabbard, we're talking about Hillary Clinton, who made the conspiracy theories uh, about her being a Russian asset, and that she's basically a modern day Manchurian candidate in a lot of ways, and didn't mention her by name, but she went out of her way to describe this member of Congress that's running for president in the 2020 primaries that Vladimir Putin supposedly had their eye on. Meghan McCain from The View, one of the worst persons in entertainment slash news media. The View, the liberal version of Fox and Friends, that diarrhea of a program, the program that whereby Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Tulsi Gabbard and Elizabeth Warren had to be subjected to abuse by those bitches on The View. I make no apology for calling them that. Um, they especially Meghan McCain, who is the daughter of a war criminal, who blessed the war criminal nature of the late John McCain and the George W. Bush presidency and the gang of ghouls like Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld and John Bolton. That is Meghan McCain, and she has a special hatred for Tulsi Gabbard. Um, Mark Levin. Mark Levin has called her basically a proxy for the Iranian government because because she's trying to save lives by trying to trying to encourage the U.S. not to be in the Middle East. I'm talking about Tulsi Gabbard, and Mark Levin has criticized her for that. Of course, Mark Levin is a neocon piece of shit that's never met a war that he didn't like. And but I'm going to also mention two people that I do like that have a problem with Tulsi Gabbard, and that is Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks. And I don't like to criticize Anna Kasparian. I like Anna Kasparian. I love the Young Turks. Um, yeah, she has her problems and issues with Tulsi Gabbard, and another person, a friend of the Young Turks, his program, David Pakman show. I like David Pakman. I like his content, but he referred to her, and I'm not sure what he meant by the Leninist left. But she's not even a socialist in any meaning of the word. I mean, she's the second most left wing candidate, was the second most left wing candidate in the primaries, but she was not a socialist per se. Um, and so I don't understand what David Pakman meant by being a part of the Londonist left. But as the campaign went on, when she dropped out, and everybody thought it was going to be a Bernie Sanders endorsement, but that was a big twist in the primaries when she ended up endorsing Joe Biden. And and I started thinking about it. Why on earth would she endorse Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders? And I have my theories. And my theories, I won't mention any names, but I think that there are people that work for Bernie Sanders, even if they were well-meaning, they were a little more on the establishment side, and they looked upon Tulsi Gabbard as being too out there. And Bernie Sanders, one of his faults was that he wanted to acclimate himself more toward the establishment this time around. And if I have a criticism about Bernie Sanders in 2020 was don't play too much footsies with the establishment. Many of us Bernie Sanders supporters have been longtime supporters of Bernie Sanders, and we love him because he was not part of the establishment, and that remained problematic, as far as I was concerned. But I think that Tulsi Gabbard also decided to endorse Joe Biden to get the DNC off of her back. She's not running for reelection in Hawaii and for U.S. House of Representatives, but I do think she's got future plans. And she wanted to get the Hillary Clinton off her back, and I can't blame her there. She wanted to get the DNC off of her back, and so and also I do think it was personal in a non controversial, in a very benign way when it came to Joe Biden. Um, Joe Biden's son, Bo, that died several years ago, was also a U.S. Army major in the Delaware National Guard. She knew Bo Biden pretty well, and they were pretty good friends. And so I think there's that connection there that certainly helped in her decision ultimately to endorse Joe Biden for the presidency. But having all that said, the DNC still want to punish her, and they wanted to punish her by not allowing her to speak at the convention. Now, this is what gets my goat about that. Michael Bloomberg put a lot of money in America Samoa when he ran for his campaign. A lot of that, what was it, like $700 million that he spent? Just think about all the good he could have done for the poor with that $700 million. But he decided to run for president because he wanted to be a freaking big shot like Donald Trump, you know, and he was also part of those never Trumper Republicans that decided to become a Democrat just to go and get back at Trump for whatever reason, because he's, and I guess the establishment Democrats is preferable to Trump in that regard. But he also put a lot of money in America Samoa to steal delegate votes away from her. He got some delegate votes, but she also got some delegate votes from American Samoa. And what happened? By custom and tradition, if you get delegate votes for the convention, you should be allowed to speak at the convention. The DNC did not invite her to speak. They excluded her. But Michael Bloomberg spoke. You got, John Kasich, who's a Republican. He spoke, and Colin Powell spoke. A war criminal, another war criminal, spoke. Christine Todd Whitman spoke. And the Democrats kind of gone out of their way to cuddle the never Trump Republicans and to shit on the Tulsi Gabbard supporters, the Andrew Yang supporters, the Marianne Williamson supporters, the Bernie Sanders supporters, and even to some degree, even though I'm a little bad at her at this point, even the Elizabeth Warren supporters. So there you have it. But the thing about it is, what happens after 2020? What happens? Whatever the outcome, I do think that Tulsi Gabbard has plans. Some of her plans includes running for governor, possibly of Hawaii, or running for the U.S. Senate in Hawaii. Either way, she will make a fine addition as far as being governor or being a U.S. senator from Hawaii. And and when it comes to the alternative media, I had no issue with Jimmy Dore or Nico House for preferring Tulsi Gabbard over Bernie Sanders. I mean, thank God they didn't choose Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Beto O'Rourke or Pete Buttigieg or, heavens forbid, Amy Klobuchar. But the point I'm trying to make is that I wanted to see a Bernie Sanders Tulsi Gabbard ticket. I think that the Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard ticket would have been, especially with this COVID crisis, would have been the strongest, best way to go and take care and remove this cancer, this virus called the Trump presidency. And I mean, you think about it. Bernie Sanders, with his domestic economic platform and message, he would destroy Donald Trump in a debate for the corporatist shield that he is. And Tulsi Gabbard as the VP against this religious nut job neocon asshole Mike Pence. She would destroy him. I mean, it would just be so beautifully done. She would destroy Michael Pence in such a debate. And I mean, it just really irks me how so freaking stupid that people who are marginally on my side in the most broadest sense can be at times, to write off Bernie Sanders and to write off Tulsi Gabbard. Now, I want Bernie Sanders to run in 2024. I don't think he will run, but I want him to run. But in the event that he doesn't run, and in the event that Tulsi Gabbard decides to run for president in 2024, if the way that I know Tulsi Gabbard now, and what she's done in regard to being anti-war, if she were to run as a Democrat or even as a Green Party candidate in 2024 for the presidency, she would have my support. I make no apologies for that. And and I just am bothered by the way people had mistreated her and engage in enabling the smear campaign against her. And Tulsi Gabbard, if you're listening, I appreciate all you have done. So that's all I have to say for that right now. That's all, folks. If you like what you heard, press like. If you dislike, press dislike. Whichever way. Subscribe. Share this video if you don't mind, and tell everybody about it. And as a free speech absolutist, I am required to say this. If you got a platform, utilize it, because we are the muckrakers of our time. We are. And until next time, peace, and Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2024. And no, I wasn't kidding when I said that.